Welcome back to another Hoop Scoop Media Conference preview, and today we are previewing the Big East, our third of the Power Five conferences that we're going through. So yeah, well, what are your opening thoughts on the conference, Luke?
I really like the top five in this conference. I think it should be a very uh even race at the top. I don't think um UConn's as far above as maybe some people think. So I think it
Yes,
should be
I
exciting.
I agree with that statement. Yeah, it kind of the top and the top, especially last year, was separated from the rest of the conference as it was the second ranked conference in KenPom, but only sent three teams to the tournament: Creighton, UConn, and Marquette. Obviously, UConn winning the national championship. Probably a team or two snubbed from the conference, in my opinion, from the tournament. Specifically, Seton Hall, I think should have been dancing last year, but yeah, second ranked conference in KenPom, UConn regular season champions. They had the highest KenPom rank as they were the number one KenPom team in the country. Clearly the best team in college basketball. And um, yes, I believe they also won the conference tournament last year. They kind of ran through the whole country, but looking at some of the all-conference players from last year and where they are now, Tristan Newton from UConn exhausted his eligibility, Cam Spencer from UConn exhausted his eligibility, Baylor Shireman from Creighton also exhausted his eligibility, Tyler Kolek from Marquette went pro, as did Devin Carter of Providence, and Kadari Richmond for Seton Hall, the final member of the first team transferred within the conference from Seton Hall to St. John's. Not a very far trip for Mr. Richmond there. Moving to the second team, Trey Alexander from Creighton started his pro career. Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton is back for his fifth season. Oso Ighodaro for Marquette started his pro career. Danish Jenkins for St. John's exhausted his eligibility. And Eric Dixon for Villanova, the final member of the all-conference teams, returned to the Wildcats in year three of the Kyle Neptune era. So yeah, little bit of returning talent, about the what you'd typically expect. Few guys back, but most of the all conference teams are typically depleted. But one coaching change in the league, and that is DePaul hiring Chris Holtman from Ohio State. He was fired from Ohio State, but definitely has a track record of success. So what are our thoughts on this hire?
Yeah, I think if you're DePaul, you have to be really happy with landing Holtman as your head coach, a guy with Power Five experience already. And it's not like he's been entirely awful. He was a bit disappointing the last 2 years, the way that the
Hmm.
team fell off, but I still think very capable of eventually getting DePaul back to the NCAA tournament.
Yes, the last 2 years were far from ideal, but even with that being said, I still think he's a very good coach. Definitely a big upgrade from Tony Stubblefield, who it never worked. To hire was probably bad in the first place. This guy's proven to be a head coach, proven to win in the conference. And we'll see how long it takes, but I think the team headed in the right direction. So. Yeah, moving to our all conference awards. My player of the year is Ryan Kalkbrenner for Creighton. Returning for year five, dominant big man, really efficient around the rim, elite defender. He's also my defensive player of the year. I'll just say that while we're at this. I think he's won like two or three in a row at this point. So yeah, I think he's the best player in the conference. Hard to argue with that in my opinion, but who's
Yeah,
your
I'll save time as well. I've got Kalkbrenner as both my player of the year and defensive player of the year. Just his impact on both sides of the ball. Um,
mm-hmm.
Creighton's going to lose their top two guys, so he's going to be even more of a focal point, or two of their top three from last year, I should say.
Yes,
But
scoring wise, at least possessions.
and
Yeah,
then yeah,
but
obviously his impact defensively, like no matter who's on the perimeter, really for Creighton, like if they allow him to get to the rim, Kalkbrenner's going to affect a
yes,
shot or
he is
block it
elite
entirely.
at protecting the rim without fouling. Like he is like let me check out his foul rate last year. 2.2 fouls committed per 40 minutes. That is crazy considering how elite of a defender he is down low. And that just shows you that's a crazy statistic right there. Like I don't think he like ever I don't know if he's like ever fouled out of a game. Like he hardly will ever like get in foul trouble. Um, but yeah, he's amazing. My freshman of the year is Liam McNeely for UConn. Should potentially be a starter on day one, top 10-ish prospect, and just plugging into a great system. Dan Hurley, two national championships in a row. Um, not really a better system and team to go into.
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of boring. We've all had the same picks so far, but I've got McNeely as well. I think should be a lock freshman wise to have the biggest role in this conference. And he'll also be playing for one of the top teams. So I think his impact right away should make him at the very least a top three freshman in the conference. And I think he's the safest pick to win it.
Yeah, so yeah, a little boring there, but sometimes you just have to go with the obvious pick. I like being fun sometimes, but sometimes you just have to go with what you know is going to happen, and think all those will happen. Moving to our all conference teams, probably going to have a few differences here, so we can get started with that. But my first member of the first team is Cam Jones for Marquette. Really good scorer. Likely going to be taking on a little bit more ball handling duties this year with no Tyler Kolek. But yeah, he can get buckets, and he is now more of the leader of this team as well.
Yeah, I've got Jones as well. Kolek and Iguodaro gone. There's going to be basically all everything for Marquette focused through Cam Jones. Probably play a little point guard this year too. So just going to have the ball in his hands a ton. And I think him or the next guy on my list, Kadari Richmond, is probably the two contenders for Player of the Year behind Cal Brenner. Richmond, you talked about him a little bit earlier, going from Seton Hall to St. John's, should have an instant impact. I liked what I saw from him in their exhibition game against Rutgers. Just really good on both sides of the ball, creates turnovers, gets out in transition, and just a really smart, experienced player.
Yes, it isn't going to always wow you with his scoring numbers, but he really impacts every area of the game, can distribute, and has really good size for a point guard. Yeah, like I don't even know if he cracked double digits in their game versus Rutgers, but he was just so impactful when he was on the floor. And yeah, the only returning member of the first team, even with the team change, I had him there as well. My next member, I have Aiden Mahaney for UConn. I think UConn definitely has a little bit of uncertainty, but I mean, I really liked Mahaney at St. Mary's. Was a little bit better his freshman year, honestly, than past season. But I think with Hurley's system, I think there's a few different UConn guys you can go, but I think Mahaney might be the best equipped to be the number one option.
Yeah, I have Mahaney on my third team, but I think as you said, the uncertainty with UConn is more of who's going to step up. Like we know under Dan Hurley, this team's still going to be good, but it's just more
Hmm.
of who takes the touches, who gets the scoring. My next guy on my first team all conference was Davion McKnight for Xavier. Um, it'll be his second year at Xavier, transferring in from Western Kentucky last year. Averaged 12 and 5 in his first season, and I think another year in the system, another year for him to get comfortable. And with the amount of shooters and scores around him, Zach Fremantle coming back, I think his playmaking really takes a jump, and I think the scoring will still be there as well.
Yeah,
So I,
I didn't second team, but yeah, a team I'm really high, and I know you are as well. And yeah, very good point guard, and this year he has even better teammates surrounding him. Can get to the rim pretty well. Can create his own shot. So I had him second team. Another guy I had in my first team is Eric Dixon for Villanova. Just a really solid scorer. He's probably going to average a lot of points per game for Villanova. Not a team I'm super high on because of their coach, but Dixon is still a very talented big man.
yeah, I've got Dixon on my second team, and just with the sheer numbers he's going to put up at Villanova this year, super experienced big. I think he's a lock to be on one of the first two all conference teams. Next guy for me was Alex Caravan for UConn, leading scorer. leading scorer among returners for UConn, and I think he'll have a big year. Probably the most likely to be the number one option, but it'll all depend kind of how
Yeah,
that turns out, especially with Mahaney
I don't think
into
Caravan
the
is
fold.
like a number one option though.
That's the only thing that I'm like
I had
kind
him
of
second
skeptical
team.
on, but just like his ability to score the ball, he might not be the number one option, but he's still going to get enough shots off to put up 15 plus points a game.
Yeah, for sure. Very efficient scorer. I had him second team. I just think people are overrating him a little bit, just because he's like the returning starter. I think he's more of a complimentary piece, and Mahaney has shown that he can be more of the guy in years past. But Caravan, regardless, elite player to have on your team. So yeah, I had him second team. My last member of my first team was obviously Ryan Kalkbrenner, as previously mentioned.
I mean, if we wanted to do it like the Big East Conference does it, we would put Kalkbrenner as Player of the Year and not include him on any all conference
Yeah,
teams.
that's a little odd format. Not what we're following for this exercise. So yeah, so my second team, I have Davion McKnight for Xavier. As mentioned, I also have his backcourt mate Ryan Conwell. Um, really good scorer, good shooter from Indiana State, coming over from Josh Schertz's team, and yeah, he was one of their star players there in the system. The kind of the big three of him, Isaiah Swope, and Robbie Avila. The other two went to St. Louis, and Conwell is now at Xavier in a system that I think also allows him to score a lot. Yeah, he can do it all offensively, and should, I think, even with like the step up in competition, I'm not like super concerned. He's really good.
Yeah, 48% from the field, 41% from three last year, and just the pace Xavier's going to play with, I think allows him to get a lot of open looks. He's the first name down for my second team as well. So
Yes, gonna have a big year. Another guy I had on my second team was Jameel Telfort from Butler. Solid returner. Kind of a combo guard forward, kind of a little pretty versatile on the court. Physical as well. Should be a good piece for a Butler team that has a few pretty solid returners, and definitely has at least some tournament hopes entering the season.
yeah, I've got Telford on my second team as well. Um, just kind of a big guard, very physical. Does everything well, and I think he should be the best player on a Butler team, as you mentioned. That'll be fighting to try to sneak into the tournament.
Yes, and then my last guy on my second team, besides Caravan, who I already mentioned, is Bryce Hopkins from Providence. A little concerned with him coming back from injury, as he tore his ACL in January or February, somewhere in there. But I think if he's healthy, or even at least able to get in the court, I think he's Providence's best player. I'm not thrilled by any of their transfer additions as number one options. I think Hopkins is a guy that has proven to be the number one option. Was really good 2 years ago. Can really score for his size. Physical body, former Kentucky transfer. So yes, I gave him the nod here.
Yeah, just quick shout out to TJ Ahern, one of my followers on Instagram. He's kind of been updating me on Hopkins, and he said he wouldn't be back for the start of the season, but probably December-ish. Um, so I don't know how much that's changed. That was Friday, 5 days ago from time of recording, but
I doubt much has
I
changed in that time.
yeah, exactly. But I still think when he gets back, he'll be a dominant force. Maybe a little bit slow to start, but once conference play heats up, he should be hitting his stride once again, and the talent is obviously there. I think 16-10 last year, so I had him on my second team as well. Eric Dixon, already mentioned him, and then the final name for me, another Musketeer, Zach Freemantle, missed all of last year with an injury, 15-8 in 2023 when Xavier was the top three seed. And yeah, I think combining him with McKnight and Conwell, just a very good offensive trio for Xavier. And as long as he's close to what he was before injury, I think there's definitely potential to be a first, second, third team all conference type of guy.
Yes, definitely agree. I have him third team, kind of what you said. And then, yeah, he's pretty versatile for his size, can play to 4 or 5, has, yeah, pretty skilled for his position. So Xavier, him back would be huge for them. I mean, it will be huge for him because he is back. He fully played in their exhibition against Dayton other week, and yeah, we've obviously seen what he can do when he's healthy, and he is healthy again now. So yeah, I had him third team. Another guy I had in my third team was Jaden Epps for Georgetown. He's gonna put up a ton of points. I don't love him, and I don't love Georgetown, but he can at least really score the ball. Kind of with him, you get the concerns of like, is he actually impacting winning? But he can score it, and he's gonna get enough points to be on an all conference team, I think. If Georgetown's like halfway decent.
Yeah, I had Epps on my third team as well, and then another guy I had we already talked about Aiden Mahaney for UConn, and then after him I had Davon Smith for St.
Yes.
John's, transfer in from Utah. Just another guy who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot like Richmond, and I think the pace that he's able to play with really helps elevate St. John's. I think we saw that in the exhibition against Rutgers.
Yeah, so I went with him as well. Really had a breakout season at Utah, even with the little bit of a shorter season with the transfer stuff. He was very impactful. He's back. Really good athlete. I think, yeah, kind of gives him a good duo that can play point guard with him in Richmond. Another guard transferring into conference I have is Pop Isaacs for Creighton. Not particularly efficient in his past season at Texas Tech, but I think still a very skilled offensive player, can shoot the ball, and I think the system at Creighton definitely will lead him to take better shots, be a more efficient player. I mean, we know what he can do. We'll just have to trust the system.
Yeah, I had Isaacs just narrowly missing my third team all conference. Another guard I went with for my third team was Wooga Poplar for Villanova. Had somewhat of a breakout year last year for Miami, even on a bad team. And jury's kind of still out on what Villanova's going to be this year with Kyle Neptune at head coach. But I like the scoring capabilities for Poplar and probably their best guy outside of Dixon. So,
Yes. And then yeah, my final guy of my third team is Pierre Brooks, the second from Butler. Another pretty solid returner. Really had a breakout season after transferring in from Michigan State. Him and Telfort giving him a good 1-2 punch.
yeah, I've got Brooks as well, rounding out my all conference third team. I think, as you mentioned, the duo of him and Telford is really going to be what carries this Butler team. And if you think they're going to be anywhere near the tournament, you got to really believe in what those two are going to provide. So,
Yes. Moving on to our all freshman team. We obviously both have Liam McNeely. Good shooter, good size on the wing, forward position, as previously mentioned. Another guy I have is Fedor Zugic, from Creighton, international prospect. Has played pro for a few years, so more than experienced, even though he's only technically a freshman. I think his eligibility thing is still getting worked out, as most international prospects are dealing with right now, but I think you should be ideally good to go by conference play at the very least. So, yeah, lot of experience there, even though he's only a freshman.
yeah, I had Zugic as well. As long as he gets the eligibility thing figured out, I know that's still up in the air, but
Yeah, I
as
mean,
you
I
mentioned,
don't think
should
that's
be
really
figured out
something to be
within
overly
the next
concerned
month or so.
about.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he has played so many professional games, but with the way the NCAA is right now, I don't see how it'll end up being a problem.
Mm.
McNeely, we already talked about, and then next guy for me was Kayvon Mulready for Georgetown. I think he'll be another important piece in that back in the Hoyas backcourt, and I think he's probably their best defender in the backcourt as well. Kind of a two-way guy, whereas Mack and Epps, not sure about their defensive capability. So I think Mulready could have a big role as a freshman.
Yes, so I went with a different Georgetown guy. I went with Thomas Sorber, um, big man, and one of pretty hyped up recruit for a few years by Georgetown, and yeah, I think he's gonna be forced to contribute right away. Georgetown kind of has a few different big men, but yeah, a lot of people like Sorber, and he'll definitely have the opportunities if he's good enough. So
Yeah, I had Sorber on my team as well. Should be Georgetown's starting center this year as a freshman. So another guy who's going to have a lot of looks. And then final guy on my all freshman team was Jackson McAndrew for Creighton, high 4-star, and should be a very viable option off the bench for Greg McDermott and maybe even work his way into the starting lineup ahead of Mason Miller at some point this year. I really like what he can do. He can space the floor a bit and just very talented offensively, as many Creighton players usually are.
yes, I had McAndrew on there as well. Very skilled offensively, really good shooter for his size, and definitely someone to keep an eye on. Um, because he can be really good in a few years, depending on where that route takes him. Last guy I have Oswin Urhumunse from Providence. I definitely botched his name, but he's I'm in on him. He is a reclass, so sometimes reclass players are a little questionable, but very athletic big man. And yeah, I'm not as in on some of Providence's other players as some other people are, but I do think there's a strong possibility that Osman really emerges this year, even being a year younger than he could be. So moving into breakout players, my first breakout player I have on my list is Jalen Stewart from UConn. UConn, as we mentioned earlier, they're going to need some guys to step up, and I don't really have any doubts they will, but I think Stewart will be one of them, kind of on the wing there, could start, could come off the bench, but think a breakout
Yeah,
is inevitable.
I had Stewart included on my list as well. Another UConn guy I didn't have as a part of my five, but hopefully not stealing one of yours. Just wanted to give a quick mention. Solo Ball should be a impactful piece in the UConn backcourt as well. Taking a big step up. And then the first guy I had was Dalen Swain for Xavier. Maybe not, maybe he won't have too big of a role, but I still think his athletic capabilities on the wing will be really impactful for Xavier. Really good defender, and he's got a lot of guys around him that'll bring more of the offensive side of things, and I think he can come in and really be impactful on that end of the court.
Yes, I did not have Swain on this list technically, but I do really like him. I think there's definitely a lot of pro potential with him. I also did have Ball on this list. I think he's another guy that's kind of inevitably going to break out. I think he's been getting a lot of hype. He was really good in their exhibition win over Rhode Island. I think he could be an all conference guy this year. I don't think that would be too crazy if that happens, even though he was relatively unimpactful as a freshman. Definitely buying a lot of solo ball stock.
Yeah, next guy for me was Simeon Wilcher for St. John's. Had a impressive showing against Rutgers in the exhibition, and should be one of the guys on the wing getting a bit of time alongside RJ Lewis. So I think with St. John's improving, I think Wilcher will have a big year as part of that.
Yes, I did not have Wilshire on my list either, but definitely someone that I could have picked. And if I would have been doing this if I would have done this, put my list together in the past few days, I might have put him on here because I know Rick Pitino had a quote in one of his press conferences or something that like Wilshire like was for sure a starter. Like he was going to start every game. So that definitely sticks out to me because he was not a guy I had in my projected lineup. So that definitely tells me he's improved a lot. Obviously, was a really highly ranked recruit last year, so I can't really go wrong with that. Another guy I had though is Finley Bizjack for Butler. produced some solid amount as a bench guard for the Bulldogs. Entered a portal this offseason, but decided to come back, and I think he has a lot of potential, even with some guys over him. He could be pretty good in the coming years.
Yeah, I actually went with a different Butler guy, Landon Moore. I think Moore and Bizjack, along with the transfer Kobe King, kind of split that point guard role. And I think I like Moore just a little bit more than Bizjack. Another year of experience over him, bit of a better shooter. Um, so I think either way, one of those two is gonna really have to step up for Butler in a big way.
Yeah, for sure. With the loss of Polish Alexander and DJ Davis, two guys who could handle the ball. But yeah, another breakout guy has Ben Gold for Marquette. I've been a big Ben Gold enthusiast for some time now. He is and this is finally going to be his chance. He's going to be a starter. You would think, and yeah, really skilled big. Um, can space the floor. Should also be a good rim protector with his length. So yes, a lot to like here. The minutes are going to be there. Like the system. So yeah.
Yeah, I had Gold as well to round out my breakout guys. Iguodaro
And
being gone, the role is definitely going to be there for Gold, and I love the way he plays offensively, really able to space the floor, and he's been a big energy guy in the past, and now he'll get his chance to, I mean, see the floor most of the game.
yes, my last breakout guy is Isaiah Coleman for Seton Hall. Seton Hall definitely a team kind of scrambling for some options. I think Coleman, good athlete, good defensive piece, but being one of the only guys back on the team as a freshman last year was a solid contributor. I think he's a guy that can step up even more this year for the Pirates and a little bit of a weird roster, but. Yeah, moving to our top 10 transfers. Number one, I have Kadari Richmond.
I've got Kadari Richmond as well.
Number two, I have Aiden Mahaney.
I've got Conwell at 2, Mahaney at 4.
All right, and I have Conwell at three.
And then my third is Davon Smith for St. John's.
All right, then yeah, I have Pop Isaacs at four, and then Smith at five.
All right, I've got Isaacs at 6th, and then Mahaney was my fourth, guys.
Okay, so or who do you have at five? Or
I've got
yeah,
Wooga Poplar at 5.
okay. So then I had him at seven. Six is where I had Malik Mack, incoming Georgetown point guard.
I had Mac at 8,
So, seven is where I had Wooga.
and then 7 I had Wesley Cardette Jr., Chicago State transfer
Side card
in at
at eight.
Providence.
Yes, the
And
Chicago State can kind of discourage some people, but he was a former top 100 recruit, so definitely the talent is there.
yeah, and I think we talked about Hopkins maybe getting a late or a slow start to the year. I think Cardette's really gonna have to be maybe not the guy, but one of the guys for Providence to start the year. And then Max, my 8th guy.
Number nine, I have Scotty Milton for Seton Hall. Think he is in for a big breakout as an Ohio State transfer into the Hall.
I've got at number 9 another Seton Hall guy, Chance Jenkins. Bit of a more experienced option, transferring in from Old Dominion. But definitely a lot of space for those Seton Hall transfers to really break out.
Yes,
Um,
someone's gonna have to for sure. My number 10 guy, DePaul guy, had Isaiah Rivera, in inner city transfer from UIC. We'll see. There's some interesting DePaul guys, but he's a little bit more proven than some other ones. Could have gone with someone like Layden Blocker here, but I went with Rivera.
yeah, I actually went with the guy that'll probably play in between Blocker and Rivera. I went with Jacob Meyer, coming over from Coastal Carolina. Shot 45% from the field, 40% from three as a freshman. And I think he's got a chance to be one of the leading scorers for DePaul.
Yes, DePaul definitely has an interesting group of transfers. But yeah, that brings us right into our team reviews, starting from worst to first. So it means we are starting with DePaul, who won 0 games in conference play last year. In total, they won 3 games, finished outside the top 300 in Ken Palm, which is egregiously bad. They were horrible last year. Leading to the coaching change, of course, but I have them 10th in the Big East, not quite last in year one of Chris Holtman.
Yeah, I've got them 10th as well. I'm excited to see what this team can do under Holtman. Um, really just a bunch of shooters, basically 1 to 10, um, going down the list. Maybe NJ Benson, the only guy that can't space the floor. But I like to buy into the upside here. Um, and first year of a head coach under Holtman. Let's see what can happen.
Yes. I don't know if you saw this, but I did read that they beat Loyola Chicago in a secret scrimmage the other day.
I guess I didn't see who they played in the secret scrimmage, but I had one of my buddies telling me Layden Blocker was looking really good, so I'll buy
Yes.
into that. I think he had 4 or 5 threes in the scrimmage. So
Yes. Yes. I think he's if you're like I think he's someone you have to buy into if you're like optimistic about DePaul because even though he didn't do that much in a bad Arkansas team last year, I think obviously you got the recruiting pedigree with him, but I really liked him whenever he played for Arkansas last year. He had the struggles of a freshman, did some stupid things, not overly efficient, but I think he played with a ton of energy, impactful defensive piece, and the offensive game is only going to get better. And if what happened in the secret scrimmage plays out in the season, the offensive game will be much improved.
yeah, I you have to buy into the upside. Really, just lots of energy, very quick. You talked about he can do things on both sides of the ball, so I think you buy into the upside there. Not the most promising freshman year, but then again, nobody on Arkansas really looked great last year. So.
No. Got a few other rising sophomores, David Thomas and Jacob Meyer. Um, both had solid freshman campaigns as well at Coastal Carolina and Mercer, respectively. So I think those are two guys that could be combo guards, can shoot a little bit. Both decently athletic as well. Isaiah Rivera, as previously mentioned, I think he's another guy who kind of have to buy into. Has a lot of experience. Good shooter, and yeah, played on some decent Colorado State teams. So, what are your thoughts on Rivera?
Yeah, I think obviously you talked about time at Colorado State. I believe he was part of one of the tournament squads. So
Yes,
has the pedigree there. Yeah, just an experienced scorer, experienced leader, 5th year in college now. And he's one of 5 guys on this roster that shot above 40% from three last year. So I think again, just really buying into the shooting they have.
yes,
Um,
and he did it on somewhat high volume as well. Some of these other guys, not huge volume guys, but Rivera made over 2 3 pointers per game. Also was able to score from inside. Very talented scorer and solid size in the wing. I think he's a guy that I'm buying into with this cluster of transfers. They also, let's see, who else do we want to talk about? David Skogman and NJ Benson could potentially form a starting front court. Very different players, but due to their styles, I think they kind of fit together potentially. Skogman's more of a offensive option, skilled scorer, not overly physical, but can space the floor, um, can score inside and out really. And Benson's just really elite defensive option, rebounds the ball, very physical. So I think those two kind of complement each other and can both succeed on the court at once.
yeah, I mean, this roster as a whole kind of like a mid-major all-star team type of thing, but I do like the way it fits, especially here in the
Hmm.
front court. You have Skogman to space the floor, more of an offensive option, and then Benson's just there to rebound, there to affect shots, protect the rim, and he's got all the shooters that he could ever imagine alongside him. So I think Skogman and Benson will be the starting front court duo.
Yes, that would make sense. Also got some more players in the bench. Connor Enright has been starting point guard for Drake last year. Big energy guy. I think he's definitely gonna play a solid amount. Good shooter. I believe he had some really impressive stats in these scrimmages as well. Had like 16, 5, and 5 or something along that line. Got CJ Gunn from Indiana and JJ Trainer for Louisville. A few guys that haven't done a ton, but definitely have the potential. Um, yeah, just an interesting group of guys, but
Yeah, I obviously shout out Connor Enright. Been a long time follower, and he's a just straight out energy guy, just a
he's a
dog.
dog.
From Drake. Yeah, that's what I put in my notes, and yeah, I think probably the sixth man off the bench in the backcourt, but yeah, he'll hit the shots when they come to him, and then just a really good on ball defender sets the tone on
Yeah.
both sides of the court.
I could definitely see him and Blocker being the starting backcourt as well, though. Nepal definitely has a lot of pieces, a lot of ways they could do things. So, yeah, interested to watch him. Really want to see how this all fits together. But next team up is Georgetown, who won two conference games, both against DePaul last year. Not a very good season in year one of the Ed Cooley era with or wait, was that year one or year two?
I think that was year one,
Year
I
one was
believe.
last year.
Yeah, because
I
that was the
yes,
return game and everything. Yeah.
correct. I everything's kind of getting jumbled up, but yes. Year one was bad. I don't think year two will be better. They're going to be a little bit better, but I have them last just because I think DePaul is going to be significantly improved. So I have Georgetown 11th.
Yeah, I've got the same thing. I've got Georgetown 11th, but I still think both Georgetown and DePaul will be much improved from a year ago. Georgetown finishing just inside the top 200 in Ken Palm, and I think this year they're probably more like top 120, maybe a little higher.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely made some upgrades to the roster, but given the money that they supposedly have to work with, I think it's definitely still a disappointment of an offseason.
Yeah, I think definitely like the I don't know. Cooley came into Georgetown. You really thought there was going to be a large boost of NIL, and the four guys they brought into the transfer portal don't really back that up.
Yes,
Um,
like Malik Mack, really talented freshman from Harvard, put up some big numbers there, can really score the ball, and then Micah Peavy, ultra defensive wing forward from TCU. Those guys are really good players, so not taking that away from them, but that's like it with all the money they have.
yeah, and like there's no splashes really. Like PV solid guy, good defender,
Mac
and then
maybe
Matt,
was a splash.
yeah, jury's still out there. Like he looked really good at Harvard, but I don't know if it's like these big names you really wanted. Like I feel like Amorie was like floated around for Georgetown, like
Yeah, yeah.
trying to get around in the big market. But
Yeah, that's they also took a few swings in Jordan Burks and Curtis Williams, but definitely an underperforming class given the supposed money. Mac and Epps is going to be interesting. Not sure if anyone else in the team is gonna score the whole season, but
yeah, I think PV might get like 10 a game, and everybody else is gonna I don't know get two shots off maybe. But
yes.
yeah, I don't. We'll see. Two very high volume scores last year, so it'll be
Yes.
interesting to see how they fit in the backcourt together.
But both can definitely pass the ball, so it's not like they're not like they won't be, but definitely two guys that like the ball in their hands a lot and like to shoot a lot. We obviously talked about a few of the freshmen earlier, Kayvon Mulready, Thomas Sorber. I think they're gonna have to be ready to be impact right away, given the state of the roster. I think Julius Haliafonua, I don't know. Again, not too sure on the pronunciation there, but big 7 foot guy from New Zealand, I believe. Think he could potentially challenge Schwarber for that starting spot. Um, Drew Fielder, guy returning that I kind of like, but we'll see if he can do a little bit more. Good stretch big. Good at stretching the floor for big, and then they have a few other freshmen that not entirely
Yeah,
excited or think that.
I don't know. Drew McKenna reclass. We'll see. Um, or sorry, not Drew McKenna. Did he
Yes,
reclass? I don't know.
yes,
Okay, yeah,
he was a midseason addition to the team last year, so
yeah. So maybe um an extra semester of preparation helps him there get in the rotation a bit. But yeah, I'm not too in really on any of the bench pieces.
yes. The defense should be a little bit better, but it was utterly horrible last year, and I don't think it's gonna be that much better. So I mean, it's gonna be a lot better, but when it was so bad last year, like it can only be so good this year. Next team up though is going to be Butler. They went 9-11 in conference play last year. Definitely a big gap separating the bottom two and the rest. Butler was squarely in tournament contention all year. Found themselves on a little bit outside the bubble, on the wrong spot, but definitely not a bad season despite finishing ninth in conference play, as you could maybe think just based on just looking at the conference standings. But anyway, I have Butler sitting at seventh this year.
I've got Butler sixth. I think it's a three-team tier: Butler, Providence, Villanova, and I like Butler. I think I like Butler the most out of the three. I think they have the most proven duo with Brooks and Telford back. And then I think you can see jumps from the other guys. We talked about Landon Moore and Finley Bizjack a bit. Kobe King gives the backcourt a bit of experience.
Yes,
So
former
I
former
think there's
Big East
upside with
player.
this team.
Yes, King formerly in the Big East at St. John's. I think centers where I'm really intrigued to see what they do with Andre Screen, who only played about 13 minutes a game last year. With the departure of Jalen Thomas. See if Bowden Kapke can maybe step up a little bit. Because you're gonna need him to. I don't think Patrick McCaffrey, who transferred from Iowa, is really capable of playing the center position. So
Yeah, I think he's definitely more of a four.
yes. I also do like Jamie Kaiser, their Maryland transfer.
He actually he's out indefinitely from what I saw
Is
this
he
morning.
really?
Um,
Let me.
yeah,
Well, maybe I
yeah,
don't like
just
that then.
yeah. So I don't know the. It just said out indefinitely, so I don't really know
And
the
definitely
impact of
can mean
that. But I
like
have
anything though, right?
that's I have to imagine it's at least December, January, if we do ever see him play this season. But yeah, I think I'll let you talk about Kaiser, I guess, a bit. But
Well, I'm
yeah,
trying
definitely
to
some
figure
upside
out.
coming in from Maryland.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. It's kind of vague. Um, but I think he's a lot better shooter than the percentage showed last year. I think he can be of a lot of help on the wing if he is indeed healthy. Physical, um, physical 2 through 4 really. So I think he's someone. He was kind of playing the two at Maryland, but like I think he's more of a 3-4 that can space.
Yeah, I could see him playing really anything, and I would say more of a 3-4. Looking at what the rest of the Butler's roster looks like.
Yes. But yeah, they had decent. They kind of plugged in their needs with the portal. I guess they didn't really get a five, but Butler is a team that has been. I don't think they have a great NIL foundation there, and I think they did pretty good considering their resources.
Yeah, I would agree. I just think they're always going to be solid. They're always going to have kind of that underdog mentality that a Butler team always would have. And yeah, I don't know if tournament's a realistic expectation for this team or even a goal for this team, I guess, but just
I mean, they weren't
being,
that far out last year, and they have their two best players back.
yeah, I would say it's for sure more likely that they miss than they make it, but
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
it's not it's not completely out of the question.
But it's like, yeah, it's in the question. I agree with that. But next team up is going to be Xavier, who also went 9-11 in conference play last year. I have them second this year. Um,
This is where I take one of my swings. I've got Xavier winning the conference. Really buying into the upside of what this offense is.
yeah, it's definitely a bold take, but I definitely see a world where that happens. Considering not to put too much stock into the exhibitions, but they looked very good against Dayton in their charity exhibition. They destroyed Dayton despite Dayton like not even seeming to play like that bad. Um, Xavier looked really good.
Yeah, that's one of the exhibitions I didn't get a chance to watch, but I mean that's kind of the capability of what this team has. Just extremely fast paced, very talented, and they put up 90-ish on Dayton, I think it
Yes, I
was.
think it was upper 90s.
Yeah, so I mean that's just kind of where you see the offensive capabilities. I really like McKnight to make the second year jump. Had him on my first team all conference. And then Ryan Conwell, Dante Maddox, Marcus Foster, three experienced mid-major guards coming in, all going to be good scores. Maddox and Conwell both 40% from three last year. So I think
Yes.
those are two really big pieces.
Yes, two guys that can really shoot and Foster, another pretty versatile wing guard for the team that could definitely be a big piece. Jerome Hunter is back, which is I was not necessarily expecting to see him in the exhibition. I guess I didn't know he was that far ahead, or that ready to go. So that's definitely important, especially with Lassina Traore being out for the season, as he unfortunately is. But I think Hunter being there gives him a good opportunity to play Hunter and Fremantle at the same time. And then Hughley obviously is going to be their starting center. One would think physical big man from Oklahoma. Um, and then yeah,
Yeah,
you
I think the biggest question really is staying healthy in that front court, but it's it's 100% even with the loss of Traore talented and with between the three of them deep enough to be a formidable Big East front court.
yes, because those guys are like all three of them. Fremantle, Hunter, and Hughley have had injury issues in the past. Cam Fletcher, another guy, lots of injury issues, but I think he's a pretty solid wing forward to have if he's healthy. Skilled shot maker. Um, and
You got the
yeah,
sophomore duo,
yeah, those I
Dalen Swain, Trey Green. I
really
mean,
like both of those guys.
yeah, it's very deep. I think all 10 guys can provide valuable minutes. Sometimes teams are too deep, but I think here it works really well, especially with the pace they want to play at. You have a lot of
Yes.
guys that can provide different things.
Yeah.
Green, probably the backup point guard, and then Swain just very versatile
Swain just
defensively.
does like everything pretty much. Besides shoot, not a great 3-point shooter, but can handle the ball, can get to the rim. Elite defender, elite athlete. Probably an NBA player at some point, maybe after this year. And yeah, fully in on Xavier to bounce back. I think losing Desmond Cloud was kind of addition by subtraction, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I like replacing Claude with Conwell and Maddox
yeah. I
to
don't
get your
think
scoring
Claude
that way.
was that good. But next up, Providence. They went 10-10 in conference play last year. Another team that found themselves on the wrong side of the bubble, and I have them at sixth this year.
I've got Providence seventh, so just flip flopped Providence and Butler with your predictions.
Yes. I'm not a huge Kim English guy. Um, as I previously stated, I think I don't know, he didn't do that much at George Mason. Like Tony Skinner's doing more there.
Yeah,
And
I will say I think he did a solid job in year one. Lost Hopkins halfway through the year,
yeah,
and I mean still were probably a tournament team if the bid Steelers didn't go haywire in the conference tournament season. But
Yes, not too far out from making the tournament, but I do have a lot of questions about his team, specifically as a tournament team, losing um Devin Carter and Josh Oduro, two amazing players, and I I don't love their transfer additions, I guess. Like I don't hate a lot of these guys, but I think it's a step back in my opinion.
yeah, I don't know. Wesley Carter Jr. showed flashes at Chicago State. You talked about former highly rated recruit, had big games like at Northwestern, but
Yes.
can he provide consistently in the Big East? Um, Definitely still going to be a question. I like Jaden Pierre to have a big year.
Yes.
Coming back, averaged 10-3 last season, and probably going to have the ball in his hands a lot more now with Devin Carter gone.
Yes, I would agree with that. Jabir Abdul-Rahim I like, but he's more of a spot up guy, not extremely versatile. Kreese Hisendoko, that's where I kind of like Osborne a little bit better. He's like, I guess we talked about an A10, but he's like theoretically good, but he's not really that good.
Yeah, we talked about that kind of. St. Joe's maybe happy they moved on from him, and I could definitely see where Osmond overtakes him for the starting spot. He's talented, can affect shots, but like, is he really a winning player? That's kind of the question there.
And then Bensley Joseph, the other guy they brought in coming from Miami. Obviously, Miami was not good last year, but Joseph's still a guy that's played there for a while, played in a few deep tournament runs. And I think they honestly have some pretty intriguing pieces on their bench. Like I don't hate this roster. I'm just maybe a little lower on the top end guys than others, but I kind of like the depth. I like Rich Barron. He had a pretty successful freshman year. Think he's a guy that could see a little bit of an increase in minutes depending on how everything works out, but I think he could get better for sure. Justin Fernandez, a guy to monitor, former top 100 recruit at Georgia Mason, um, but was hurt last year, so did not play. But definitely someone to keep an eye on. Anton Bonk, 7'2" JUCO guy that was, I think he was with the team last year. It might have been a midseason transfer in. He's another guy that could be a name to watch out for. I think I'm just a little lower on the top guys, which is really, I think maybe like they're on the bubble. I don't know if they're going to be in or out. I don't, but yeah, I think barely out. I would have them right now.
Yeah, I think again wrong side of the bubble. Um, I I do like Justin Fernandez, Rich Barron, like as a chance to take a step forward. Corey Floyd Jr., another guy, but yeah, I don't just really top to bottom. I don't know if it's enough to be a tournament team this season.
So I don't know. I think yeah, those two losses in Carter and Oduro are huge. Moving to Villanova though, 10-10 in conference play last year. They should have been a lot better, but their coach was Kyle Neptune, who has not succeeded there in his tenure so far. I have Villanova at eighth this year.
I've got Villanova eighth as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like this roster. Like I liked the roster last year, but I think this roster is clearly a step back, and it's not looking super encouraging for Villanova.
Yeah, I mean, on the roster topic, I think it might be better than Providence and Butler's, but
Yeah.
I'm that out. I feel like on Kyle Neptune, I'd rather doubt him and have him prove me wrong than kind of get burnt by believing in him again. So that's why I've got Villanova eighth. I mean, you've got Dixon back, Woga Poplar, 13 a game at Miami last year. Good
I
three
don't
level
know if
score.
he's that.
I'm
I don't know.
I don't know. I'd
He's
yeah.
a good player, but I don't know if like he's. I don't know. When he got good, Miami started becoming really bad.
Yeah, that's definitely also a way to look at it too. I mean, yeah, not wrong there by any means, but
Um, Jameer Brickerson from LaSalle is a solid point guard, but I don't know if he's really a high major guy. We'll see, I guess, with him. Tyler Perkins in from Penn, within Philadelphia transferred there, had successful freshman season, so definitely worth buying the long term on. Other
I,
transfer,
I,
yeah,
yeah, I like the addition of Enoch Boakye, just kind of allowing Dixon to play the four. And then you have Boakye to defend, rebound. Um,
yeah, but he's not actually
yeah,
like that
protect.
good.
No, but I think like it allows Dixon more to get a better
Yeah,
matchup
I
offensively
do
and
I
dominate.
do really like it from that angle, but I would have wanted someone else better than Boyake. He
Yeah,
was like a
yeah,
5 star back in day though. I don't know if you remember that. Like he committed to Michigan State like a long time ago as a 5 star. Ended up at Arizona State. N no longer. I mean, I think he kind of fell down the rankings, but he is like a good. He does like the good big man things. Like he rebounds, he protects the rim, he makes some dunks. I just don't really think he's capable of playing at this level. To that much of an extent. Um, Jordan Longino, I think he's had some injury problems. He could be solid if healthy. Matthew
and
Hodge,
then
Josiah Mosley are some guys to monitor. Chris Parker might be a head case, but he had a weird recruitment in the offseason for sure, at least. Kind of it was weird, but he's definitely a guy to at least keep an eye on. Alabama
yeah,
transfer, redshirt freshman. I
yeah, and
know the
then
what were you gonna
Jordan
say?
Dumont, another red shirt as well. That one back from Villanova. But yeah, just a bunch of like 3, 4 like forwards. Um, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who kind of breaks out. Obviously, Hodge and Mosley the more likely,
Yes.
but
Also, I've heard some hype for Alexander Gavagulov. I believe he goes by Sasha. Guy from Bulgaria. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I just, I don't know. Like, I loved Villanova's roster last year, and they couldn't make the tournament. I don't really like their roster this year. So, like, this is not going to be a very good team.
yeah, I don't know.
Next up is
Just kind of
yeah,
stuck in between like I don't know the Providence Butler range and like I don't think they'll be as bad as the Saint or Seton Hall, DePaul, Georgetown area.
yeah. Next up, though, St. John's went 11-9 in conference play, 21st in KenPom, but did not make the tournament. This year, I have the Red Storm sitting at fifth in the conference.
I've got St. John's finishing third.
So I do think in my rankings, there's like a big gap between fifth and sixth. I think they're probably a top 25 team. So, yes, a big. I think they're going to be a lot. I don't know if a lot better because they were highly regarded by the metrics, but I think this team is definitely gonna find themselves in the tournament field.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I think it's definitely a tournament team now. Year two under Rick Pitino. Um, I talked a little bit at the start of the podcast, just the top five being that step above, and I think 1 through 5 it is really close. Um,
Yes.
I like St. John's just a bit more, um, especially due to the duo of Kadari Richmond and Davon Smith. Really able to play fast, get this team out in transition, and we saw that a lot against Rutgers when Richmond was on the floor. They looked really good. He had foul trouble in the first half, and Rutgers went on a 20-0 run. But really, outside of that, um, I thought St. John's kind of controlled the game and was able to play how they wanted to.
Yes. Impressive showing from them there. I think they're gonna be a lot better defensively this year. Last year they were not great on that end, and that's kind of what Rick Pitino is been known for over his career. This year, I think with the additions of guys like Aaron Scott, obviously the backcourt duo. I really like Aaron Scott. I think he's like a perfect plug and play piece anywhere in the country. Can kind of shoot a little bit, athletic, elite defender. Coming from North Texas, who has built their program on defense. So Scott is like gonna be a great starter, even though he like might not like score a ton or like 11 points from North Texas, but Scott is really good.
Yeah, I like Scott as well. And then RJ Lewis coming back. I think he's another good defender. Um,
Yes.
saw saw that in the exhibition. And then I don't want to put too much weight on the exhibition, but really in coming into this year, we knew both Sim Wilcher and Zubi Ejiofor were gonna have to take big steps forward, and I think they really looked like they're up for the challenge this year.
Yes. Ejiofor
Especially
was
Ejiofor.
really good. Rutgers now given their big man department is severely lacking, but regardless, Ejiofor was elite in the exhibition. He will be the starting big man this year. Honestly, a guy that I've kind of liked for a few years, but just hasn't been in the ideal situations to get a ton of minutes, sitting behind Soriano last year. But think he's definitely a guy that's gonna take a big step up. Got Vince Iwuchukwu behind him, former 5-star from USC. So good center rotation there. Also got Ruben Prey, big man from Portugal, pretty highly regarded international prospect. I guess the one thing with his team is they don't really have shooting outside of maybe Brady Dunlap, like consistent.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what Wilcher is able to be consistently, but
Yes, and
I
that
don't,
kind of depends if Brady Dunlap's even able to like carve out a bigger role. And we see he,
yeah.
he is a very good shooter.
I
So
I like the capability of this team getting out in transition though. So hopefully the lack of shooting
hmm
isn't as magnified as it could be.
yes, definitely thinks it's a tournament team though. Under Rick Pitino. Next up is going to be Seton Hall, finished fourth in conference play, 13-7 in the Big East, but did not make the tournament. It's pretty ridiculous in my opinion, but I have them ninth this year.
I've got Seton Hall ninth as well. I like a lot of the pieces for the long term, and Shaheen Holloway should elevate them, but still just kind of undermanned when you look at um the 8 rosters that are above them.
Yes. Yeah, the NIL situation is not great in Seton Hall, so I yeah. Yeah, like I like a lot of these pieces. Like I think Scotty Middleton's gonna be pretty good. I kind of like the upside with Garway Dual, even though he was terrible at Providence. Good defender, good potential there. I don't know. This Shaheen's gonna get a lot more out of his team than he should, but this is not a very good
Yeah.
roster.
I mean, you talked about Middleton, Dual, and then you mentioned Isaiah Coleman as one of your breakout
Yes.
guys, I believe. So 3 sophomores that should make a jump, but yeah, really there's nothing flashy to the rest of this roster. I think the front court also scares me too. Prince Aligbe is kind of a solid 4 in from Boston College. I don't really know if he's a starter. And then Yassine Toomey transferring in from Evansville. Is he really a 5 in the Big East? Not sure. Um, and then Gus Yalden in from Wisconsin is kind of your only other real front court option. There's Okorafor from Louisville as well.
Yeah.
But
We'll see. I'm interested to see if Zion Harmon's able to do much as well. Really good high school prospect, good scorer, but he's a little bit undersized, not overly efficient coming from the SWAC. So we'll see. Adewusu is their returning leading scorer. I hope he's not their leading scorer this year because I feel like he's just not capable of being that. Someone's gonna have to step up. We'll see.
yeah,
But
and then
they're
I mentioned Chauncey Jenkins as well. I think he'll he'll bring experience to the backcourt. A bit more efficient than Harmon, not terribly more, but yeah, an experienced mid-major guard. So
Yeah, not a roster I like at all. But Shane Holloway really won last year with a roster that I did not think was very good. So we'll see. But they lost about everyone. It's gonna be tough. But kind of trusting Sheen to make them better than they should. Next up though is Marquette, 14-6 in conference play. I have them fourth this season.
I've got Marquette fifth.
Yep.
Um, yeah, just kind
Shaka
of
Smart does not use the portal.
yeah, no portal additions and going completely in-house to make up for the losses of Oso Yadaro and Tyler Kolek. So I think that's where you see a step back, but there's obviously a lot of guys who can try to fill the roles. That's just two very important players that um you're not filling in at all with the transfer portal. That kind of worries me.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how some of these guys take on bigger roles as there's not like the experience transfer to plug and play. I guess Cam Jones is their point guard, but I mean Cam Jones isn't like really a point guard. Neither is
Yeah,
Stevie Mitchell.
it'll definitely be interesting. We'll see what Jones looks like in that position, but regardless regardless of how much one he plays, he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. And if he can add the playmaking to his game, he's probably got a chance to be the Big East Player of the Year. Like definitely one of the guys that can give Kalkbrenner a run for his money. But
Yes. I think if Sean Jones is healthy, he could be the point guard, but I don't know what his recovery status from his ACL injury is like. So I guess we'll see if he even plays this year at all. But yeah, I mean, I guess they have good returning pieces because they didn't lose anyone. Besides the guys they lost pro, no one lost the portal. But when you, I don't know, I like get not like using the portal like that, but like I feel like one or two guys that like maybe like just like a mid-major point guard or something could have been useful.
yeah, I agree. And then I mean, really just get two watered down versions of Golek and Iguodaro, like another solid big to play because yeah, you're asking a lot of Ben Golden, and then you're asking a lot of Stevie Mitchell, Chase Ross, Trey Norman, Zayd Lowry, really a lot of guys to step up in the backcourt to make up for what Kolek
Yes.
was.
We will see how the young guys progress this year with Demarius Owens, incoming freshman. Got Zayd Lowry, Trey Norman, Al Amadou. Um, played a little bit as freshman last year. Royce Parham, another freshman. Caden Hamilton, a redshirt freshman. So we will see. Um,
I think David Joplin, they kind of needed a breakout from him last, or maybe not needed a breakout, but you could see the opening for a breakout last year after Prosper left. That
yes,
was his name, right? Yeah.
yes,
So I think if he can be a solidified second option, that'd be important for this team behind Jones. But yeah, we'll see. Entirely in house, so I don't know.
yes.
Just guys needing to step up.
Yes, and I kind of trust that'll happen under Shaka, but I think with the loss of those two players, I think they're kind of due for somewhat of a step back at least. Next team up though is Creighton. I have them at third in conference, also 14-6 in conference play last year.
I've got Creighton fourth.
Um, yeah, I mean losing Shireman and Alexander, and particularly Shireman is pretty huge. So
Yeah, I mean that's 40 points a game on the wing that you're losing. So it's gonna be a lot on Ashworth, second year
I think
after
he could
transferring
take
in
a
from
I
Utah
think he
State.
could take one of those second year jumps. Um, had some ups and downs last year, but I think he's a better shooter than his numbers would indicate. Started to play pretty good towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then we talked about Pop Isaacs a bit. You had him on your third team all conference. just the one thing that worries me when you combine those two is there's not really any defense between the two. But I think that's what you're banking on with Kalkbrenner in the lane. You're gonna let him drive to the hoop and let Kalkbrenner affect the shot. But I don't know. I'm that's kind of what I'm skeptical on. I know Kalkbrenner is a beast defensively, but I don't know what the backcourt really gives defensively.
Yes, not a great defensive backcourt. Jemiah Neal, I guess he's more of a wing than a guard, but should be a good defensive piece when he plays. I think Larry Johnson could be a solid defensive piece, but again, freshman, I'm not sure how much he's gonna see the court really. And yeah, I guess we'll just see with the Zugic eligibility thing. I think Jason Green will take a big jump this year, though. He was really good towards the end of last season. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a guy that I didn't really have on my radar too much, but definitely some space at the three or the four. Um, Mason Miller, Jackson McAndrew, the other guys kind of competing for minutes there. But
yes. Maybe throw Isaac Trout in there too. He was disappointing last year, but still has a lot of years left. So, yeah, Frederick King is back as well for like the 5 minutes game when Cockburn doesn't play. Entered a portal, but decided to return. So I guess he's a good guy to play what he needs to. But yeah, definitely a few question marks with, but I think they'll still be good enough.
yeah, I still think this is a top 25 team. Yeah, it'll be a lot on the shoulders of Ashworth, Isaacs, and then Zugic, a lot of offensive capability as well to kind of replace the scoring that they lost, but definitely the capabilities to do so. They've all proven themselves.
Yes, yeah, Pop is going to be key to see how he really adapts to a new system. Under 30% from three last year, not good at all, but again, very talented scorer still with him. So we will see how that goes on. I think the system is going to work out a lot better for him. But anyway, the best team in the conference last year was UConn going 18-2, and I had them first again this year.
I've got them second, just kind of based off my love for that Xavier roster. And I hope eventually UConn doesn't win a national championship. It'd just be kind of boring if they kept winning them. But I don't know.
No,
Definitely a chance to go back to back to back this year,
they
especially
might
with
not. They
Hurley
might
there.
always. They might not never. They might keep winning them.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Hurley's there, I think this is a team that is second weekend and beyond. Like that's kind of their maybe not their floor, but like virtually their floor. It seems after the last 2 years.
Yes. Very depleted roster from last year, at least with the loss of Castle, Klingon, Newton, and Spencer. But I still see the vision and how they can get better. I think
Yeah, I think
yeah.
just like losing those four guys, that's what kind of makes it hard for me to believe that this team's a top five team going into the preseason that I've seen in places. I think the 10 range is more
That's
appropriate.
that's
There's a
kind of what
lot of
they did
guys that have
last
to
year
step up.
though. They kind of did the same thing last year because they lost Hawkins, Snogo, Andre Jackson.
Yeah, but I mean, uh, Tristan Newton was just so important in my eyes. And then
Yeah.
I
He also took
I
a
don't
big
think
step though. Like he wasn't as nearly as good the year before.
I mean he was the um most outstanding player back to back years, right? So like tournament run
Maybe.
at least.
But he was a lot better this past year.
Yeah. And then I mean, we'll just go straight into the bigs, I guess. Klingon gone, and the year before Sonogo left, but you had Klingon. Is Samson Johnson going to make that same jump? I think that's a
No. I
big
mean,
question
not
as
not
well.
that Klingon did, but I think him and Reed will be good enough. I guess we'll see how good he is. I trust Hurley to do what he wants. But
Yeah,
he's a big body down low at the very least.
yeah, we'll see how that works out, and then We talked a bit about the sophomores coming back. Jalen Stewart, Solomon Ball, both should make a big jump. Maybe Jaden Ross as well, getting a bit more time.
Yes. Yeah, I think Ball is going to be really good. Stewart definitely going to see an improvement as well. Yeah, and then Diarra, returning for his final year as a point guard. I think we kind of know what we're getting out of him, but he's going to be really solid, going to play some really solid defense, and yeah, not gonna have too many worries there. Caravan returning, he's gonna give you some shooting, give you some scoring.
Yeah, and then we talked about Aiden Mahaney a bit. I think he ends up being really important to what this team is going to be. Just the capability he showed his freshman year. I mean, you had him, you had hyped him up as a possible All American last year, and didn't quite make the jump. But I still think the capabilities there, especially under Hurley.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement as well. And then the freshmen coming into Liam McNeely, Ahmad Noel, Isaiah Abraham, and then not to talk about previous future years, but Hurley's really having a successful 2025 recruiting campaign. But yeah, this obviously there's some like skepticism with the roster, but I just kind of trust Hurley with what he's done the past 2 years. So I'm not overly concerned, but I am interested to see how it plays out and who exactly takes those huge steps up. So
Yeah. At the very least, I think this is a top 10 to 12 team in the country, even after losing all those four guys, which in my eyes, UConn fans shouldn't take that as a slight. When you've won back to back national champions or national championships, I think, I don't know, being placed anything other than first is probably a bit disrespectful, but
yeah,
I'll take my chance.
but this roster probably isn't like as I mean we're giving it more credit than the roster shows too. So
I agree with that entirely.
but yeah, any more notes on the conference?
Yeah, I think this team sends five to the dance, improved from the three a year ago, and I think all five once again could be second weekend teams.
Yes, I agree. I think the top five are like pretty. I'm pretty certain they'll be tournament teams. I think there's definitely a good chance for maybe a sixth or maybe even a seventh team, but I'm pretty confident at least those five teams to make it as well. Um, so yeah, that's uh that's our Big East preview. Make sure to subscribe to Hoop Scoop Media on YouTube because yeah, it'll help you stay informed with all your conference previews. Make sure to turn on post notifications so yeah you get updated when any previews come out. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter/X at Hoopscoop Media, and make sure to follow Luke at College Hoops Outlet on Twitter, CHO Talks or no College Hoops Outlet on Instagram, CHO Talk Sports on Twitter/X. And yeah, we will see you for the next conference preview podcast.